Welcome to Kick Him in the Head, a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews from some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. I'm your host, Yao. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and getting insights into what it takes to succeed in the toughest sport on earth. Welcome to the Kick Him in the Head podcast. And as always, I have an absolutely jam-packed MMA episode for you. Before we get started, I just want to say, guys, apologies. My stream today might be a bit glitchy. My network has been pretty crappy this evening, but let's get it. Let's go. And tonight, as always, I have dissecting all the action with me, my brother from the Fight Week show, Ola. Ola, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, for once, it's not my internet that's fucking about, so I'm happy with it. It's not my internet, but big up everybody. Salute to all of you. It's Yao's time this time because the last time I was on here, it was a nightmare for me. So I'm going to enjoy this one and see Yao languish with that internet right there, bro. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. I'm not as good. Well, I'm better than my connection. Let's put it that way. I'm definitely better than my connection. But hopefully we can get this show going and have a good one. So today we are going to start by reviewing there wasn't much that happened in the MMA space this past weekend. Everything is happening this coming weekend. So we are looking at something that is MMA related in the form of Anthony Joshua versus Triple D Dynamite Daniel Dubois. Now, there's two reasons we're talking about this fight. The main reason we're talking about this fight is because it was exciting. And there was it was a scintillating fight. Quite a few knockdowns for Dubois in the fight. But we're also talking about this fight because the man you see going down in this picture, as you well know, Ola, Anthony Joshua, has been avenged by Dubois. Francis Ngannou, our MMA heavyweight, who was recently knocked out savagely, I must say, by Anthony Joshua, has been avenged by Dynamite Daniel Dubois. How did you see that fight? I mean, it was real build up to the fight. We saw them in the interviews going head to head, toe to toe, disrespect flying across the room, and then we had the fight in which Dubois won. How did you find that fight?
First of all, I refuse to call another grown man Triple D. Pause.
Ola, can you hear me? Or is it my internet?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's number one. Number two, I'm not on this MMA thing. AJ is my countryman, and it's finished. So all this Dubois avenged Francis Ngannou thing, I'm not on that. You man can celebrate that. That's for you man to celebrate. Yeah, I'm mourning. I'm grieving for AJ right now. You know what I mean? Even in defeat, I stand by him, and I say it's finished. Yes, in every single way in that fight, Dubois dominated. I've never seen anyone get saved by the bell so many times in one fight. The amount of knockdowns, the eventual knockout, and from when Dubois, I shout out to my bro Lee Gunner, shout out to Sterling. We did the watch along together, and my boy the Southern Guna Matty. You know, we were both siding with AJ. Lee and Sterling. They picked Dubois, and Dubois came in and really put on a clinic. And when I say clinic, I mean a disrespectful clinic. Is what Dubois put on Anthony Joshua from that first jab. It's like AJ didn't want to be there. He probably had one good round, but even then he didn't win the round, you know. So Dubois, from the Gloves Are Off's interview, you could see he showed AJ no respect at all. AJ was actually demanding the respect on the interview, and I did ask Sterling, somebody who's been in there in terms of combat sport. I said, where do you really demand respect? During the interview or at the press conference or inside the ring? And he said you should be demanding that inside the ring. Matty said the same thing. So for me, AJ was looking for respect in the wrong places. And when he came to the ring, he couldn't get that respect from Dubois. Dubois showed him zero respect, actually disrespected him so many times during that fight. It was ridiculous. I've never seen a fall from grace from a champion in a singular bout in that way. The way Dubois treated Joshua, it looked like Joshua had no business being in there with Dubois. That's how I felt during the fight. For somebody that got dealt with this way, to put away Francis in the way he did, this is combat sport math. It's not MMA math no more. It's combat sport math. It's just crazy. It just shows you how crazy this sport is. This sport is wild. But congratulations to Dubois, and we're gonna try and see what's next for him. And I know a lot of people are pissed off that Dubois won, but the right man won. The best man on the night won, and congratulations to him and his team.
I agree 100%. The best man on the night won. If we look at the knockdowns, how he got the knockdowns, AJ was just unfortunately outclassed in this fight. We saw a he cockily stuck his tongue out right before the knockout in his corner. So maybe it was one of those things. And he said, yes, he made a lot of mistakes and Dubois was the better fighter. So let's hope he does come back stronger. It does sort of mess up Fury versus AJ. We'll see who AJ fights next. But the main reason this was interesting, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about boxing later in the show, the main reason this was interesting is how he went from a scintillating knockout of an MMA fighter in the form of Francis Ngannou to being picked apart and destroyed by Triple D Daniel Dubois. Now, does that mean that if Dubois got into the ring with Ngannou, it would end quicker? We don't know. But like you said, MMA maths. I think I want us to just very quickly move on to the next thing we're talking about today, which is PFL Europe, which is happening this coming Saturday. Now, we don't talk much about PFL, but there's a few reasons why we're talking about this specific PFL. One, because we have the Battle of the Giants coming up between Renan Ferreira and Francis Ngannou. Francis's first outing, the guy we've just spoken about. So there's a lot of Francis Ngannou themes in this episode, but he's returning to MMA combat sports against Renan Ferreira, the current PFL heavyweight champion. Now, in there, we're looking at what sort of depth that does the PFL have. So yes, they can have their super tournaments, but what are they really doing in the MMA space? What tournaments are they having? And this is one of those tournaments, PFL Europe, that's happening in Scotland. Shout out Rambling Dad. We know Rambling Dad will be there live at PFL Europe. So we will be hearing from him live this coming Saturday. Shout out Joe Dane. But for this one, I think there's two fights that I want us to just quickly shout out to and point at. And I'll let you go first because you did have an interview with him this past week. And that is Mark Ewan, who will be fighting on the prelim card. Talk to me about that fight. And the fight that I'm going to talk about is Chanel Dyer versus Valentina Shchetsny.
Okay. The thing with Mark Ewan, and big up to Mark Ewan, he's a fighter we've had on our show many times. Very, very good friend of the show. Very, very generous with his time as well when it comes to pulling up on our show. His last outing didn't go as planned. He lost his last fight, and he was going into that fight undefeated. But when you look at the type of fighter that Mark Ewan is, a very, very clinical fighter. He had an off day. He had an off day that day. And I asked him, some of the reasons why that fight didn't go his way. He didn't make no excuses at all. And, basically the better man won, on the night. And, he'd love a chance to try it again. But Mark Ewan is very, very focused going into this fight against Yasin. And I think with this fighter, he knows what he has to do. He's on home soil. Obviously, is of Nigerian descent, and is one of the reasons why we rock so well with McEwen. And not just there, it's one of the other factors was I discovered him when he was under the EFC promotion, and he did some work over there in the lightweight division in the EFC. Also fought against one of our good friends in Adrian Rayo Sanchez. So them two had a bout together that he won. But really, really down to earth fighter, always focused, and he's going in there this time to try and claim the win. He doesn't want to just do it for his gym. He wants to do it for himself, but at the same time wants to do it for Scotland, because rubbing shoulders with some of the legendary Scottish fighters that are on the card, like Stevie Ray, who's also on the main event. All these guys rubbing shoulders with them is a proud moment for him, and he really wants to go out there and put in the work. We've got quite a few Scottish fighters that's on the card, as we can see over there. So yeah, McEwen, we're going to be rooting for you, and hopefully you come back with no damage, and maybe you can get one more like you said you wanted to get this year. So we'll see. But I'm definitely going with McEwen on this one. I think he's going to bounce back. And if you haven't seen this brother fight, don't judge him by his last fight. Trust me, he's very, very clinical, and I think he's going to do the same thing again this weekend.
I'm really looking forward to that fight. Like you said, do not judge a fighter necessarily by their last fight. You have to look at their body of work. Although in the fight game, it's very difficult to look past their last fight, because essentially
you're only as good as your last fight.
As the last fight. There you go. So it's tricky, but I agree. There's those cases where you look at a fight and you look at how might have lost, if they have lost their last fight, and say, look, it was just one of those fights. We can take, for example, the AJ fight, just one of those fights. He came out better. I'm not sure about the AJ fight, but he came out better and he beat me. So happy. That's a very, very, very interesting take there. And shout out to South Dogs MMA Talk in the chat. Shout out, chat. We see you. We hear you. Just a quick take from the chats. Mark Ewan is a killer, says the Fight Week Show. Leroy, shout out. Yes, Mark is an absolute killer. Looking forward to seeing him back in the cage. Listen to this, says you guys are on fire. The analysis tonight is top notch. Let's get it. Let's go. Thank you so much. Listen to this. Really appreciate it. Did you see this, Ola? Did you see Francis on Diary of a CEO? No. I did not see that.
No, as I said to you just before we came on air, it was a very difficult day at work today, man. I ain't had a chance to look at anything yet. So, but once I get off this, I'll go have a look. I'll go have a look.
Once again, shout out Rambling Dad. There he is in the chats. Let's go. We are looking forward to seeing you at PFL Europe.
Jordan is a dickhead. Please carry on. Oh, he's frozen. It gives me more chance to sing. Jordan is a dickhead. He's gonna come back and he's gonna want to talk about Chanel Dyer. But until then, Jordan is a dickhead. That brother is a dickhead. Always talking about my table. He thinks he can eyeball the table. One time he eyeballed the table. I had to kick him off the table. You know what I mean? Had to kick him off. Now he's sitting on the floor talking about tables again, bro. You know what I mean? Leave the table alone. Leave the table alone, my Dean. You know what I mean? So, but it looks like Keith is back.
Death by network this evening. Like
that was me last week, bro.
I don't even know what the problem is. Honestly, I changed onto 3 different Wi-Fi's. Like I even had to put on my wireless router, and it's not working.
Whenever when the whole time you was gone, I spent that whole time cussing McDane.
As I was saying, so the fighter that I want to talk about at this PFL Europe is Chanel Dyer. I hope I'm not cutting out.
You're back.
I'll just add Chanel to the stage and hope it plays.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Keith? Can you hear me, Keith? It looks like Keith is
I'm done.
He's having technical problems.
I can hear you now. I'm dying out here, bro. Okay, here we go. So that's why I hope it plays.
Yeah, we can hear you. Talk, talk, talk. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Mhm. Mm, 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 mm.
Okay. You wanted to say something about Chanel Dyer. Chanel Dyer is a fighter that trains out of GBTT, Great Britain top team. She's surrounded by a lot of very, very good fighters. We know one of our coaches, Daniel Warrior Sam, very, very good guy on Instagram. Go and check out his work. They train a lot of killers in that gym, like Nikita Bagley. They got uh, Purple Supernova in Kate Bachik, who's the champion right now. Simeon Powell is another one that trains under the banner of GBTT. But Chanel Dyer, she's been very, very good since she got into the PFL. And the trajectory that she's facing, I wouldn't be surprised if she end up facing Dakota at some point. Chanel's been that good. I first saw Chanel at the Battle of the Arena promotion in Wolverhampton. I met Leon Edwards that night as well, and and I met her dad. I met Chanel's dad, and he was saying to me, "Oh, that's my daughter. I didn't even know that was his daughter at the time." But I met Chanel's dad, and he said, "Yeah, she's going places. She's always been like this since she was a young fighter." And that way, the way she won in a spectacular manner, winning by submission. And from then, her career has gone from strength to strength. And you could see the way she's performing in PFL now. Very, very capable fighter, knows what she's doing in the cage under a very, very good coach in Sam the Warrior. And in that gym, GBTT, tons of killer out there, and there's no doubt in my mind she's gonna go and grab another win this weekend. You were saying about Chanel, please.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay, so did you see the video I played? I played the video of Chanel Dyer. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Oh, fuck's sakes. I don't even understand right now, honestly. It's really
So good.
frustrating.
We're still here. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We're still here, and yes, you're back. You're back. You're back. Okay. Looks like I'm the only one here. So as we said about Chanel, I've like I said, I have no doubt that she's going to be picking up the win this weekend. Now, let me go to the other itinerary that let me go to the other itinerary that Yao had for us. Okay. So the other fight that y'all wanted to talk about, obviously UFC Paris with Moicano versus Saint Denis. Saint Denis obviously is going to be fighting Moicano on this card, and this is a card that this is a bout that I'm actually worried about, and there's somebody watching right now that's going to be very, very interested in my picks. But I'm just going to talk about a couple fights on the card that I'm looking forward to. We got Okibolaji that's going to be fighting Chris Duncan. Okibolaji is obviously a fighter that we know, as well as Chris Duncan on the Fight Week show. They've both been on our channel. Go look out for them on their pages. These guys both got power. Chris Duncan definitely got power. So does Okibolaji. They both train, in very, very good gyms. And we know that Okibolaji, even though he picked up his last win, it didn't quite move for him as much as he liked to. He won on a split decision. So and Chris Duncan is coming off a loss. But one thing Okibolaji is going to want to do is make sure he wins decisively in this fight. But can he do that to somebody like Chris Duncan? That's one of the fights that I'm looking forward to. I really want to see is the fight opener, and the other one is Matt Frivola versus Faraziam. I think those two as well. This is another fight that everybody's going to be looking forward to. Matt Frivola coming off a loss against BSD, and we know that Faraziam is coming off a win against Carlos Puelles. So this is another one that Frivola has to bounce back off. He's a friend, like I said, another friend of the Fight Week show is why I picked those two fights. And these are fights that I'm really, really looking forward to. But of course, the co-main event as well is right up there on the list of the fights that I want to see in Brendan Allen versus Nasruddin Imamov. That's another one that I'm really, really looking forward to see. And Brendan Allen is on a tear. Imamov is another one that people have been touting for Stylebender since he's coming off a loss to Duplessis. So so many landscape turners in this fight on this card here, and we're gonna see, because if Benison Denoir gets redemption in this fight, then he could be in a conversation to talk to those guys in the top 5 after being knocked out by Dustin Poirier. So much to talk about, so much to see on this card. Sorry about that. Yao, I just wanted to get all of that off while you was fixing your Wi-Fi. You back?
Bro, you did best. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yes, because that is essentially the next card we were going to talk about is the UFC Moicano versus Saint Denis. I am really looking forward to that fight. I'm not sure if I'm back. I'm still resetting my laptop. So
No,
now I'm
you're
on my
back.
phone. So
I can hear you. I can hear you. You're back, and you're
okay,
good.
perfect. We'll have to do a guerrilla style today. So yeah, so on that card, I'm really looking forward to that fight as well. The title fight, mostly because yes, we saw Saint Denis lose against Poirier, but one other fighter on the card in your fight of the week, Matt Frivola, he did score a head kick win against Matt Frivola. So for me, I'm looking forward to seeing him against Manny Moicano, who we know is a very, very dangerous, very tenacious fighter who can submit you at any given moment. So I think for me, that fight is the exciting one, because will Saint Denis get a KO, or will Moicano manage to submit him or manage to get his own KO in that fight? So yeah, I think for UFC Paris, the upcoming UFC Paris, that's definitely the fights that I'm looking out for at that event. You mentioned that you were supposed to speak to Oki Bojali, but that didn't manage to materialize.
Yeah, well, I'm still gonna try and see if I can pull it off. It's just been work. Day work it's a motherfucker. Bills don't stop, and yeah, that's been the reason. But I'm gonna try and see if I can get that done and get that interview in.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that interview, definitely. It's always nice when we get to speak to our African fighters, and we saw Oki Bojali recently in Nigeria with Israel Adesanya when he got back from his fight in Australia with Dricus, and
Okay, it's back to me. As he, oh
no,
yeah,
I am back on this line.
I think your phone was better.
Oh, tonight is an absolute mess where it comes to can you how do I exit this? Oh, Oga, tonight's just a mess. I'm sorry, bro.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. These technical problems happen. They happen to the best of them, bro.
Okay. So how do I hang up on here? Now I'm confused. I'm on here. I don't know.
Yeah, just turn the volume down on that.
Done. Okay, great. I think we are back. Big ups the chat. Thank you guys for your patience. It is much appreciated. We are back on the stream. Let me reload the slides, and I think let's finish this up, Ola. Thank you so much. Is it me again? So we had just chatted about UFC Paris. So I'm not going to go back into those slides. We will now move on to UAE, Saudi Arabia, Africa versus Arabia in the UAE Warriors 53 happening this coming weekend. Now, Ola, the reason we're talking about this card, because we don't normally talk about the UAE Warriors cards, is because we have a few fighters that we know on this card fighting this coming Saturday. Now, the fighters that we are talking about specifically are Demar Pena. Now, we know Demar Pena, he is a
Yep.
legendary Angolan fighter fighting
Yep.
currently out of Johannesburg. He's the former bantamweight, yes? Yes, former bantamweight Aries champion, former EFC bantamweight champion. So he is an absolutely decorated fighter, international fighter, and he's fighting at UAE Warriors 53. Like I said, his last fight was at Aries FC out in France. The other fighter on the card that we're talking about is someone we both know very well, Gift the Day Walker. Now, Gift obviously is an EFC fighter, current EFC fighter on his first international assignment out in the UAE. So we're really looking forward to what he can do against Maysara Mohammed, who is fighting out of Egypt in an All Africa affair on the 27th, this coming Saturday in Abu Dhabi. Then the third fight is the one and only Sylvester Shifumbu, who is back in the cage. We obviously recently saw him fighting against Faiz Jacobs in the bantamweight division of the EFC. So now to see him dropping down to featherweight, very interesting. But he is fighting out at UAE Warriors 53 in the UAE in Abu Dhabi, and we wish him the best of luck there. What are your thoughts on the whole UAE Warriors Arabia versus Africa in terms of, I guess, the exposure that it gives the fighters from both regions? How do you feel about the UAE Warriors? So there are a few other African fighters on this card that we didn't pull out, and there are two female fights on this card, which we don't normally talk about when we're talking about fights that happen out in Saudi Arabia or out in the Middle East. But that's very exciting to see.
Yeah, it's good that they're doing this sort of work. Um, them alongside Brave. I think they give the fighters a platform, especially when they want to branch out and what you want to get new fans and get new people to know your name, know about you, know what skill set you got. And somebody like Gift Walker now has this platform to showcase his talents, in the flyweight division. And we know about the Matapena. Everybody knows about him. Very, very popular, amongst the African fighters. Very, very respected as well. Everybody looks up to him. Go and ask all the top fighters in and around Africa. They all say good things about the Matapena, and very, very good champion as well, and very, very talented. So I'm expecting him to pick up the win. And Gift Walker, I'm even going to go as far as to say that about Chifumbu, because to go past someone to find someone like Faiz Jacobs, always gonna bring the A game, man. And I think at this level on this card, I think Chifumbo will get it done as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this card. There's plenty to chew on this weekend, man. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna be feasting on combat sports.
An absolute feast. And one fighter we didn't point out to is Stembiso Khadebe, who's fighting Mohammed Abubakar from Somalia. But yeah, I agree with you. This card is very, very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, this we already went into, so I'm not going to go into it again. But for anyone who is listening, you can get this fight card on Instagram. You can get this fight card on Twitter at the Fight Week Show. Do follow, like, subscribe. If you're looking for any predictions, there is a prediction show that happens on Fridays as well. We have Ola, the Rambling Dad. We have Will and Jordan,
Cage
and they
Scribe.
put together a great show. Cage Scribe, letting you guys know exactly who you should be betting for, who you should be going for, and who they are going for every week that there is combat sports. And right now I am sitting with, and McDane, you can comment if you'd like. But I am sitting with the current leader of the Fight Week show. Prediction show. There we go. Prediction show.
Somebody just got to my door. My dogs are going mad. But fight of the week.
It is just about that time. Yes. Fighter of the week. Fighter of the week. So, fighter of the week. I'm gonna go first this time around. Is my fighter of the week? Yes, she is. So, my fighter of the week. We have already, I guess I would say, pointed to her, talked about her in this episode thus far, and it is Chanel Dyer. I'm just gonna have to. Getting kicked out of the show kind of messed up my little intro I had of her, but it is Chanel Dyer, who I will be playing a video of shortly. But the reason she's my fight of the week is with what she's done in her 2-year pro career, currently on an undefeated streak in her pro career of 5-0. She's finished 4 of those fights. I think 4 of those fights by TKO. She's only got 1 decision. She's a scintillating fighter. The video that I'm going to show will definitely show you exactly how vicious she is. But I'm looking forward to seeing not just how she does this coming weekend, but her career going forward. Because as we said, the PFL is growing. The PFL is looking for depth. And with fighters like her in their stable, I think that's definitely a feather in the cap of the PFL in terms of watchability and having great fighters on their books. So that is my fighter of this week. It is Chanel Nightmare Dyer. Okay, let me play this one instead. Here we go.
Women on the planet.
As we can see, this is Chanel Dyer at PFL Newcastle, and boom, there it is. That is why I am a fan of Chanel Dyer. If you have a look at that head kick, she absolutely flatlines her opponent with that head kick. She didn't stand a chance. Boom, there we go. Right on the jaw, catatonic, instantly down. That is why I am a big fan of Chanel Dyer, and that is why she is my fighter of the week, because she is about to be back in the cage, delivering more devastating head kicks with more precision and amazing skill. So yes, for me, Chanel Dyer, the head kick KO queen of the PFL, fighting this weekend, is my fighter of the week. Not Luke Riley. Nope, not Luke Riley for me. Not Luke Riley for Ola either. Leroy, you can put in the chat why you would like Luke Riley. And for everyone listening, just note we are about to end the show, but if you are looking for more MMA content, you can jump onto South Dogs MMA Talk on YouTube. They do have a live show that is going on now. It just started 1 minute ago. So after this, definitely hop on there for more MMA content, more MMA chats. Great guys.
I'm going to be hopping on there, so you guys can jump.
You'll catch Ola on there. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is Conor McGregor. Now, the one thing that we know is that there can't be a Keith show, Kick Him in the Head show, without talking about Conor McGregor. We absolutely, for some reason, he's just always a topic we discuss on the show. And once again, we are discussing Conor McGregor. So at the Joshua Dubois fight that happened this weekend, Conor McGregor was there, and he gave an interview to Ariel Helwani. In said interview, he indicated that he is not likely to be fighting in 2024. He feels that his opponent, Michael Chandler, has gone walkabout on him to go and fight Charles Oliveira, and he wishes Chandler luck. He doesn't know what's going on, and he wishes that the UFC would give him more information on what's going on. Ola, what are your thoughts on exactly what's going on with Conor McGregor? And I'll explain to you in a second why I use this very specific picture to describe the fact that Conor McGregor is not fighting in 2024.
I think Conor is into so many ventures. That's number one. To then say his opponent is going to walk about on him when his opponent has been waiting for him since the last tough, and since then we've had a new tough, and the coaches on that tough have since then competed as the culture of tough. But McGregor's now saying his opponents has done a walkabout on him. When we say on Dust Up Shakedown every other week, how Chandler keeps waiting on McGregor when he could have gone another fight. He could have gotten 3 fights in the time he'd been waiting for McGregor. So really and truly, with all the respect or disrespect, McGregor's chatting shit. That's what I think. And as for him not fighting in 2024, McGregor's been busy making movies, buying BKFC, just other stuff that will take your mind away from actually competing, being in camp, and just solely dedicating those time in camp to the fighter that you're meant to be competing against. And we just haven't seen, based on what we see McGregor doing on social media and some of the stuff that he's been involved in and done, I don't think he's even been in the mindset of competing at all, let alone talking about Chandler doing the walkabout on him. So yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. But I think he's just trying to give a narrative that suits him. But that's McGregor for you.
I think first off, shout out to Kendrick Lamar in that picture. I think he's looking good. I'm sure you know that Kendrick Lamar. Oh gosh, now his name's actually escaped me completely.
Crawford.
Terence Crawford. Yes, you saw the whole Terence Crawford confusion at Noche.
Yeah. But black people always get that, bro.
Yeah, if you got hair, you look like the next guy with hair. But once again, specifically why we've used this picture is exactly what you've just said. Conor McGregor right now is primarily focused outside of the UFC. He's gone and bought up PKFC. In that interview with Errol Helwani, the only time he sounded excited was when he was promoting the PKFC event happening on I think they said the 14th or something of October coming up. So from everything we're seeing, him being more around boxing. I mean, the last time we saw him doing a face-off and with the title was actually with the BKFC title when he went there, I think, earlier this year. So it seems like his focus has shifted considerably from the UFC to his personal ventures, his personal endeavors. And now I think I'll ask the question we always ask where it comes to Conor. Do you think we're going to see him fight again?
No, in the UFC, no. I don't see it because the opportunities have been there so many times, and it's like Conor is interested in doing every other thing apart from competing in the UFC. So, hey, I got other fighters to put my interest into, but because Conor's Conor, is why we talk about Conor. But there's so many other fighters that want to entertain us. They give everything, sacrifice everything to entertain us. I want to give those fighters my time. I'm not going to give you a fighter that's made everything and ain't got interest in entertaining us no more. And if he wants to entertain us, he's doing it in other ways, apart from what we actually love seeing McGregor do, which is compete in the cage. We're not getting that at the moment. So I've got to give that time and that energy to other fighters that actually want to give us fight fans their skill set in the cage. It's only fair.
Now, with that said, I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is somewhat linked to McGregor. And now that is very specifically around the resurgence of heavyweight boxing in 2024. Prior to this year, we weren't particularly talking about heavyweight boxing. We were talking about it, but not as much as we are now. We weren't seeing a lot of different celebrities from different spaces going to heavyweight fights, engaging with heavyweight boxers, pictures. And that's how you can really tell the relevance of a sport, is by how their athletes engage outside of the sport with other athletes or with other famous people. Now, if we look at the year that we've had, the fact that definitely from the MMA community, we've always had different people, Jake Pauls, etc. We've gotten a very, very big pull into the boxing space with Francis Ngannou, who ironically appears twice in the major knockouts of the 2024 heavyweight era, which for me is indicative of how the current shine that's on MMA has somewhat been, reflected the light back to boxing. And I mean, we had Wembley Stadium for Joshua versus Dubois sitting at 96,000 people. 96,000 people
They've
is
been telling
insane.
Dana to come do one in England, man. He'd sell out, but he don't want to do it. He had 2 champions. He could have done that. He had 2 champions. He could have sold. He would have sold out Wembley easily, but he didn't want to do it. So, hey.
So here is my question. To what extent do we feel that, and very specifically, Francis Ngannou, the premier heavyweight MMA champion, leaving his organization at that point in time, being the UFC, going across another organization, and then engaging in these boxing bouts against Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, pretty much one of the greatest heavyweight boxers, and then Anthony Joshua, another absolutely stunningly great heavyweight boxer. Do we not feel that, or well, I feel that, and what do you think? I feel that them doing that is what has given boxing heavyweight, very specifically heavyweight boxing, back a lot of its shine, simply because they beat the baddest man on the planet. And that whole comparison then was like, oh, MMA is there, but boxing is still king. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, boxing is only king of because of the payouts. And I try to remind everybody that these fighters, whether they're MMA fighters, whether they're BKFC, in whatever fight class skill set that they're in for one reason. They are prize fighters. And where your purse is bigger than this other combat sport or skill set, then you're gonna go with the one that pays the most. So that's why a lot of MMA fighters are trying to move over to boxing, because obviously the payday and the payout is good. But a lot of the fans that love MMA, they love MMA for a reason, because you have to mix all the different facets of combat sports together and and compete in that way. But with boxing, you only have that one skill set, and it doesn't make it less entertaining. It's just there are different ways to skin a cat in this one, but in boxing, you get your decision or KO. So we've the fans now crossing over and the mixture of MMA fighters coming into the boxing world, it's kind of made boxing come alive again, because we see more regular fights. There never used to be this many regular fights in boxing. You see maybe one good fight in the year, but because of the regularity that MMA fighters fight, boxing is looking at that and say, hey, listen, I think we'll be sleeping here. This is one thing we could tighten up on, put on better fights throughout the year, and keep these fans engaged, because they watch fights every week. We got to try and get close to that. And that's what it seems like they've done. And with the Saudi guys getting involved, there's a lot more money circulating, and there's a lot more crossover events circulating. And these fighters, they don't mind even being on the undercard of 2 MMA fighters that want to box. They don't care. Proper legit fighters. We've seen it. Even former champions have been the undercard to those bouts. So it's kind of going somewhere, and I like where it's going. I like where it's going.
No, that's quite true. It's a very interesting point you make, that former boxing champions are even willing to be on the undercard of an MMA fighter in his debut fight. That's not something that sort of makes
Right.
sense if you think about it, but that's exactly what's happening, which is,
It's the
like you said,
purse.
showing.
These are prize fighters.
Yeah, all prize fighting. Very little pride, all prize. Give me the money. Let's get it. Let us go. Ola, that is it for today. That is the end of the show, bro. Thank you so much for making it. I had an absolutely good one. If you look at the timing, 44 minutes, and if you have a look at what I put into the outline, 44 minutes. Now you got to give me some props on timing there, Leroy. If Leroy's listening, props on timing there.
Yeah, man, you did well, bro. You did well.
But as always, we have come to the end of the show. For everyone listening, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe at Head Kick Pod on all platforms. We are primarily on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to find us, if you want to reach out to us, to any fighters who are listening, if you want us to have an interview with you, hear what you have to say, reach out to us. We're always looking to chat to new fighters. Shout out Rambling Dad Podcast, The Fight Week Show, Making the Walk, South Dogs MMA, all the guys from Dust Up Shakedown. We are back live tomorrow at 10 p.m. SA time, 9 p.m. UK. Ola, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, you can find us on the Fight Week Show on YouTube. You can find us on TFWS_official on Instagram and same on Twitter. So go check us out on all our platforms. And yeah, we're going to jump over to Sterling's S-Dog MMA. We're going to jump over there as well. So make sure when you get there, show him some love. Go check out his work.
Don't forget, as Ella said, S-Dogs MMA, and to everyone listening, next time. I was too